Earlier, I spoke to the Tourism Minister Kelvin Davis and asked him if he stands by his funding decisions.
Yes, I do. We went through a robust process. We had the criteria on the MB website. Everybody could see what the criteria were. And in the end, ministers, the tourism recovery ministers, we had to make decisions, and those we did.
So what concerns did officials raise with you about the fairness and integrity of this scheme along the way?
Look, as I said to you the other day, Lisa, we deliberated long and hard as tourism recovery ministers. We had numerous bits of advice from officials, but we believe that the criteria were open and transparent. There were 3 layers of scrutiny in terms of decision making, and the decisions we made, well, we have to stand by them.
Yeah, but my question was what concerns were raised with you by officials about the fairness and the integrity of this scheme, because there were a number of things they raised. So what were they in a nutshell?
Oh, look, there were a number of issues that were discussed, but ultimately that is what we have to do. We have to use our judgment to weigh up advice against a range of different priorities, and otherwise, look, we'd just have bureaucrats running the country, not elected representatives.
So did you ignore the red flags that they raised with you?
No, we didn't ignore them. Doing nothing was unacceptable to the tourism recovery ministers. We're going to help directly protect up to 3,000 jobs in the industry through this program and help support local economies around the country. And like I say, it is the job of ministers to use their judgment, and we weigh up the advice, against a range of different priorities. And like I say, otherwise we'd just have the bureaucrats running the country. But, we had to adapt.
So any mistakes, Minister, any mistakes that may have been made or any exceptions that were made to the rules, they are tolerable in your view because that was better than just standing still?
Well, we didn't do what you just said we did. We followed the criteria. As I said, there were 3 layers of scrutiny. And like I say, we have to weigh up the advice that the officials give us. And, ultimately
let's look at some of the detail
then.
Let's look at some of the detail, because the detail matters here to the people who are unhappy with the way this has unfolded. Discover Waitomo, AJ Hackett and Whale Watch Kaikoura, they were approved for funding outside of the official application process. How is that an even playing field for all the applicants if you had already chosen these 3 to get funding before you threw open the doors officially for everyone to apply?
So the tourism recovery ministers had the mandate to consider applications outside the formal application process. These we were.
So how is that fair?
Well, as I said, we were informed that these businesses were going to fall over if we didn't consider these urgent applications. So we used that facility. We had that mandate. And like I say, the 83 jobs that were going to be lost through AJ Hackett, we decided that we needed to protect those jobs. Now, AJ Hackett's, the staff there, some of the training they have takes 3 years. I mean, the person who ties the rubber bands to ankles, that takes about 3 years to train, and those people could have been lost to AJ Hackett. Now, when the tourism comes back and those people aren't there, to be honest, as a visitor, I'd like somebody who's had 3 years training and a number of years experience than someone who's just been in the job for 3 weeks.
All right, so that example,
jobs.
That example of AJ Hackett, they applied on the 2nd of June. That's according to the papers that have been released to us. And within about 48 hours, via email on the 4th of June, they were told that they had the money. I mean, what due diligence was there done in that time? 48 hours?
Well, like I say, that we were informed that they were going to fall over imminently. There were
so you took their word for it. The due diligence, I just want to be really clear on this. The due diligence was trusting everything that they put in their application and what they told you. That was the due diligence?
So officials went through the application and had the discussions, but like I say, 83 jobs in their instance were on the line, and so we made the the decision. And like I say, we had the mandate to consider applications outside the formal application process.
So when applicants were required to have exhausted all other funding options, what did that mean to you? So were they supposed to sell other assets they might have or other businesses, or if they owned a house, were they expected to try and refinance that? What did you mean by exhausted all other funding options?
What applicants needed to do was put in an application, and then we would go through, or the officials would go through their applications. And if they chose not to put in an application, well, that's a business decision that they made. But it was over to us to go through the process and either accept or not accept. And
okay. But I'm specifically asking, Minister, I'm specifically asking about that requirement, which is in the application, that the tourism business who is applying must have exhausted other funding options, right? So in the AJ Hackett application, under that section, have you sought other financial assistance? It said they had approached their bankers, but, quote, no response to date. So that's not exhausting all financial options. They were waiting on an answer, and you rubber stamped, $10 million plus in financial assistance before the bank had even got back to them.
So what businesses need to do was put in an application. The officials would look through the applications and decisions would be made. But like I said, AJ Hackett was one of the businesses that said that they were going to fall over and 83 jobs will be lost. So we made an urgent decision.
How well do you think you vetted these applications and the information provided to you? Because you mentioned these 83 jobs. What checks did you do that those jobs were actually in jeopardy and that no other business offered the same kind of trained workers? Because your officials advised that because of the speed at which you were wanting these businesses to be approved, they were using a, quote, truncated process that relied on a high level of trust. So you were rushing these people through, weren't you?
There were 83 jobs on the line and we needed to make a decision, and so we made that decision. Now, people can criticise, but at the time we were thinking there's 83 jobs. AJ Hackett was a business that is synonymous with Queenstown, and that if it was to fall over, I mean, you just need to ask Jim Bolt. AJ Hackett is a business that is used to promote Queenstown, and that it could have negative effects on the Queenstown area. So
what was the logic? What was the logic in giving money?
Under pressure.
What was the logic in giving money to enterprises that are owned by parent companies with significant assets and resources? What was your logic there?
Well, we had to take the applicants or the urgent applicants at face value, and like I say, in that instance, there were 83 jobs that were imminent, and that AJ Hackett is a business that is synonymous with Queenstown. So, you know, we had to make decisions, and we did, and we have to stand by those decisions.
Is it an even playing field?
Well, the criteria were applied evenly, and, you know, it was up to businesses to apply. And like I say, we had 3 layers of scrutiny, peer-reviewed, moderated, and the decisions that we made were the decisions that we made. I mean, doing nothing was not acceptable, so we had to make decisions. And look, that's the role of the ministers. As I've said to you earlier, it's our job to use our judgment, weighing up the advice against a range of different priorities. Otherwise, if we just left it to bureaucrats, we'd have unelected representatives making the decisions and running the country.
Are you worried that this could end you up in court?
Well, look, we've received letters asking for information and documentation. We haven't received a letter about judicial reviews.
Are you worried that it could end up in court?
No, because I think that the process that we followed was transparent. It was applied fairly. We had the criteria, we had the layers of scrutiny, and then the tourism recovery ministers made the decisions.
And that is Tourism Minister Kelvin Davis there.